Politics over the murder of a 27-year-old RSS worker, Sanjith, has escalated. The BJP has accused the SDPI of celebrating the RSS worker's murder. The SDPI has denied the charges. They've claimed the video that the BJP IT cell chief put out was actually shot at Thiruvananthapuram and not to celebrate the murder of an RSS worker, but while reinstating a flagpole destroyed by the BJP workers on ground. The RSS worker, Sanjith, was murdered in broad daylight in front of his wife near the Palakkad Thrissur National Highway on the 15th of November, and some SDPI activists and workers have been taken into custody for questioning.
A scathing attack on the RSS. A tribute to those who took on the Sangh workers. A brazen threat to the RSS. These were the slogans reportedly raised by the Social Democratic Party at a march. Now, the Bharatiya Janata Party's IT cell chief Amit Malviya has sparked a controversy by posting this video. Malviya in his tweet has said, and I quote, SDPI workers took out a celebration march hailing RSS workers murderers in Kerala's Kozhikode on the day of his murder, November 15th. He questioned, where is the intolerance is on the rise brigade? Malviya's post has created a massive furore in political circles in Kerala. The SDPI was quick to refute these claims that they were celebrating Sanjith's murder.
ഇത് വ്യാപകമായി ദുരുപയോഗം ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് SDPIക്കെതിരെ വ്യാജ പ്രചരണം നടത്തിക്കൊണ്ട് സംഘ് പരിവാർ നിക്ഷിപ്ത മീഡിയകളും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ വർഗീയ ധ്രുവീകരണം ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ ശ്രമിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ചില കേന്ദ്രങ്ങൾ ഇത് വ്യാപകമായി പ്രചരിപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അമിത് മാളവിയെ പോലെയുള്ള IT സെല്ലിൻ്റെ കൺവീനറായിട്ടുള്ള ആളുകളുടെ താല്പര്യം എന്താണെന്ന് നമുക്കറിയാം. അവർ ഇതുപോലെയുള്ള പല പച്ചക്കള്ളങ്ങളും പറഞ്ഞ് വ്യാജ പ്രചരണങ്ങൾ നടത്തിയിട്ടാണ് രാജ്യവ്യാപകമായിട്ട് പാർട്ടിയെ RSSനെയും BJPയൊക്കെ വളർത്തിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്.
Sanjith was murdered in broad daylight in front of his wife near the Palakkad Thrissur National Highway. Last month, police arrested 2 PFI leaders over direct involvement in the murder. The remand report says a group of 5 people killed Sanjith, while 3 others helped the murderers to flee. A Maruti 800 car used in the crime was later recovered from a workshop in Tamil Nadu's Pollachi. With Rixon Oomen from Thiruvananthapuram, Bureau Report, India Today.
And BJP IT cell chief Amit Malviya, who tweeted out that video, now joins me on India First. Amit Malviya, the SDPI says the video is fake, was not shot in Kozhikode, it was shot elsewhere, sir.
Well, Gaurav, the fact is that they haven't denied this video. And if you go through the footage, you will find that this entire procession had the support of the administration because there was a police vehicle along with the marchers. So it is quite obvious that the SDPI took out this rally to celebrate the death or the murder of the RSS worker. They hailed the murderers. They said 1,000 salams. So naturally, if they thought that this was fake, they would have produced evidence to the contrary, which they haven't.
On the contrary, sir, the SDPI says that this video was shot at Thiruvananthapuram when SDPI workers reinstated a flagpole that was destroyed by BJP workers. So this was about a different incident and not about the killing of RSS worker Sanjith.
I have very clearly mentioned that this was in Kozhikode on the 15th of November. And if you listen to the slogans, they are very clear. It is not about flags. It is about hailing the people who murdered the RSS worker. They speak about breaking open the ribcage of the RSS, standing up to the raging sea, and so on and so forth. They were very provocative slogans. It had definitely nothing to do with flags as they are now trying to make it out to be. The truth is that they had not expected that this video will find its way to mainstream national media and they will be outed. But the fact is that Kerala sees these kind of protests, violent marches, and hailing murderers quite frequently, and therefore it is perhaps a surprise for them that the world has now discovered the dark, ugly side of their politics.
Sir, should this actually be about hailing murderers or hailing those who've killed RSS workers? Should the BJP not be registering a complaint with the police? Should this matter not be investigated in the right earnest instead of just being put out in social media? Because they allege, the SDPI alleges, the attempt is simply to create animosity in the state amongst communal groups, sir.
The local state administration and the units are in dialogue and they are doing what is appropriate. But what is important right now is to understand that all those people who speak about intolerance in this country are completely silent on this video. You have SDPI, which is the political arm of PFI, which largely has people from the band Sunni. It has links with radical organizations like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They are responsible for the radicalization that is happening in Kerala. You have an organization like this, which is today running propaganda. We, in fact, had Bishop Joseph Kalarangata, a well-known Catholic priest there, who said that there is narcotics jihad and there is love jihad that is being perpetuated by these organizations. And I want to point out here, this phrase, love jihad, that we keep hearing quite often is not a construct of the Hindi heartland. It is something that originated in Kerala, where the Catholic Church first complained that radicalized men from the Muslim community, mostly associated with the PFI and SDPI, were luring away Christian girls in the pretext of love and marriage, but using them for all kinds of nefarious activities. So when you have priests or the clergy of the church saying that these organizations are promoting narcotic jihad and love jihad and land jihad, it is something that has to be taken seriously.
Sir, if there is narcotics jihad and if it is true, it is a cause for grave concern, should this not be investigated by the law enforcement agencies of the state, Pinarayi Vijayan government? If there is evidence, should it not be brought out in public domain? Is there any evidence either of love jihad or narcotics jihad or rise of radical Islamist terror in Kerala?
Well, a lot of it. In fact, when the bishop made the statement, the chief minister of Kerala came out to refute his charges without actually any investigation. And if you look at the history of the last few years, most radical men who have been found in ISIS or in Al-Qaeda had links to Kerala and were somehow linked to either the PFI or the SDPI. So there is very clear trend to show that there is radicalization. These organizations are behind it. In fact, there are several documentaries that have been done by mainstream networks and channels like yourselves, talking about how villages in Kerala are moving towards absolute Sharia compliant living, and which is not in consonance with our constitutional framework or the rights or the liberties that people have here. Therefore, there is a serious problem. The left government in Kerala is pandering to the Muslim community, and therefore it is turning a blind eye to these radical organizations as well. They unfortunately believe that all Muslims are radicalized, and therefore these radical organizations must be given a free hand or a pass if they were to continue getting their electoral support. But I believe this is dangerous, not just for Kerala, but also for India. And there are several evidences to suggest that this radicalization is real, it is growing by the day, and it is going to be a big issue in Kerala in the years ahead.
Sir, if this is a threat, and of course, Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan has also talked about a large number of or a number of people from the state having joined the Daesh or the Islamic State. 94 Muslims, 1 Hindu, 5 converted. The question remains, it's not restricted just to the state of Kerala. What more do we know of action that needs to be taken at a national level to deal with this threat of rising radicalism, as you say there is?
Well, Gaurav, you're aware that NIA has been investigating all these charges against PFI and SDPI. There have been several cases that have been locked in. Men who were radicalized and women who were taken into their fold for jihad-related activities have been rescued by the NIA. Some of them have been sent into rehabilitation. There have been stringent law and order steps that have been taken because it involves cross-border movement, and it also involves a very diffused network of radical organizations trying to lure away these men and women. So it's a huge challenge, but I think this challenge can be overcome if the Kerala society rises to it and takes note of the fact that something like this is happening right under their nose. And unless that happens, and unless the political class in Kerala, particularly the left and the Congress, who have had a chance at power every alternate terms almost, this problem is not going to go away. But unfortunately, we've seen that these parties use these community for their electoral purposes. The left leans more towards the radical Muslim organizations to see them through. So it's a dangerous proposition. It's base level politics that plays on in Kerala, and the people of Kerala are the worst sufferers at the end of it.
Sir, you say that society has to rise against this, or society has to respond to this. The SDPI says the BJP and the IT cell are actually fear-mongering in Kerala. It's God's own country. People are highly educated. They know what's right, what's wrong. The BJP has tried to make inroads in the state, not succeeded. Now, through this fear-mongering, the effort is for RSS and the BJP to gain a toehold in the state.
You know, when this video was put out, obviously they were caught in the bind, and they had no other option but to call it fake. But the truth is that they have not denied that a procession like this happened. In fact, I saw a statement from one of their office bearers saying that this march did take place, but it was in response to a march by the RSS. My counter question, therefore, is that if there was any march by the RSS, where is the evidence? Please put it out like we have put it out. And your workers have been on the street raising murderous slogans, hailing those murderers, and in fact claiming that violence and killing political opponents is part of the course as far as their politics is concerned. Therefore, I am not quite sure if we should have expected a different response from them, but the fact is that they have been called out, they have been exposed. Entire Kerala is now seized with the kind of protest march that they had taken out. The national media like yourselves are discussing it. This entire intolerance debate in this country has to be looked afresh. Are there few people who raise fake issues and cry intolerance and in manner draw wool over some of these genuine issues and concerns that are festering in the society? That is the debate we need to have. There is intolerance in the society, but it is not where most people want to see it. It is with these radical Muslim organizations who are ripping the country apart, and political class and section of the civil society, in the name of dissent, in the name of minoritism, is looking the other way. We have paid a huge price for it in 1947 when this country was split on lines of religion. We don't want another partition. But the way things are going, I'm afraid we could be hurtling towards a similar situation several years down the line, and we should make the amends now. Otherwise, it will be too late.
Is that once again fear-mongering? And the question does remain, if the situation is so grim, Why is legal penal action not being taken against accused in this case? Will that happen? We'll track that story very closely. Amit Malviya, head of the IT cell of the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party for the moment. Many thanks for joining me. I now want to shift focus from Kerala to Uttar Pradesh, where the Deputy Chief Minister, Keshav Prasad Maurya, is in the eye of a storm for his comments on the Mathura temple preparations after Ayodhya and Kashi. The opposition Samajwadi Party has accused the BJP of politics of polarization ahead of the upcoming Uttar Pradesh elections. Is the BJP trying to gain lost ground after the farmer agitation in Western UP through the focus on Mathura move? Or is there merit in the BJP saying Mathura and Kashi, the development of religious temple towns after Ayodhya, was always their priority?
December 6, the day of Babri demolition. 29 years later, on December 6, 2021, the campaign from Ayodhya has shifted to Mathura. As the temple construction begins in Ayodhya, right-wing groups are now raising their voice for a similar campaign at the Krishna Janmabhoomi in holy Mathura. Section 144 has been imposed as the Akhil Bharatiya Hindu Mahasabha plans a mega event in Mathura in a few days from now. They want to perform a Jal Abhishek at the mosque.
जनपद में धारा 144 लागू है और किसी भी हाल में यहाँ पर संगठित होकर किसी प्रकार का कार्यक्रम करने की जिला प्रशासन के द्वारा अनुमति नहीं दी गई है। इस प्रकार के लोगों को भी चिन्हित किया जा रहा है जो कि शांति व्यवस्था बिगाड़ने के लिए कारक बन सकते हैं।
And as right-wing groups up the ante, and Yogi government has also joined the campaign with this declaration, the UP Deputy CM Keshav Prasad Maurya tweeted confirming Mission Mathura after Ayodhya. CM Yogi Adityanath has also time and again spoken of making Mathura like Ayodhya, a pilgrim center for Hindus.
भी आपने दीपावली के दिन देखा होगा अयोध्या का दीपोत्सव का आयोजन कैसे होना चाहिए। आयोजन हमारे तीर्थ कैसे जगमगाने चाहिए। अयोध्या की दीपावली आप सबने देखी होगी। श्री कृष्ण जन्माष्टमी के अवसर पर भी मुझे स्वयं इस बार यहां दर्शन का सौभाग्य प्राप्त हुआ था। ये सब हमारे गौरव हैं, हमारी विरासत है।
For the BJP, the Mathura movement matters. Their performance in the recent local body polls has them worried that they have lost their dominance in the district. A Mathura sweep will mean a dominant performance in Western UP, where the farm laws backlash has already hit the BJP. The Saffron Party is putting the focus again on the Mandir movement to seal the core Hindu vote bank. Mandir politics is back in focus in Uttar Pradesh, as the BJP has now raised its voice for the Mathura movement. For years, Ayodhya has dominated headlines. Will the focus now shift to Krishna Janmabhoomi? Bureau Report, India Today.
And the other big story, the Omicron threat. Just as international travel was beginning to show signs of revival, the threat of a new variant of the coronavirus is back to haunt countries. India has put its decision to resume international flights on the 15th of December on hold, just as new guidelines for travelers were coming into force. There is chaos, there is confusion at airports. Aishwarya Paliwal and Vidya get us more.
The invisible enemy is back in a scarier avatar with over 30 mutations. Amid Omicron threat, centre and states are rushing to contain the mutant. In a mega move, the centre has put brakes on full resumption of international flights. Aviation watchdog DGCA, which fixed 15th of December as the date for restarting international flights, said it is watching the situation and a new date will be notified in due course. Maharashtra has made 7-day institutional quarantine mandatory for flyers from at-risk nations. Flyers will be tested 3 times on the 2nd, 4th and 7th day of their arrival. All positive passengers will be shifted to the hospital. Negative passengers will be further subjected to a 7-day home quarantine. Intra-state flyers need full vaccination or recent negative RT-PCR test. For interstate flyers, negative RT-PCR is must.
There are more than 50 booths that have been put up where RT-PCR tests are being done. Apart from that, there's a waiting lounge for people to wait in where, if the testing really takes a while, they'll be asked to wait. Also, for people who have connecting flights, if they are in transit, then for them also antigen tests have been put in place.
The Narendra Modi government, however, is upset with Maharashtra issuing guidelines that are different from those framed by the centre. It has urged the Maharashtra government to revise its guidelines. Checks imposed by other states are mostly in line with centre's guidelines. Delhi has made testing mandatory on arrival. If the report is negative, then the passenger will be subjected to a home quarantine for 7 days and get tested again. All positive flyers will be admitted to hospital.
There's a separate room in the airport which has been made where all the passengers coming will be asked to sit. The test will be done and they'll have to wait till the time the result does not come. Now, typically, the result takes anywhere between 5 to 6 hours, which means that your flight will take you longer to come out of the airport.
The new norms spell hassle for flyers who are now made to wait for hours for test results and brave long queues at airports.
कोई गाइडेंस नहीं थी हमको कि आपको पीसीआर टेस्ट कराना है और नहीं तो हम लोग पहले ऑनलाइन बुक करा के आते। उसके बाद 2 टेस्ट हैं यहाँ पे, एक है नॉर्मल टेस्ट और एक है रैपिड फायर। नॉर्मल टेस्ट वो ले रहे हैं 8 घंटे और जो रैपिड फायर है वो 1 घंटा बोल रहे हैं, बट 1 घंटे में किसी को रिपोर्ट दी नहीं। तो अंदर काफ़ी लोग परेशान हो रहे हैं कि बच्चों के साथ छोटे बच्चे वेट नहीं कर पा रहे, बस खाने को कुछ नहीं है।
The WHO, meanwhile, opposed blanket travel ban, calling them ineffective to curb the virus threat. With Vidya and Aishwarya Paliwal, Bureau Report, India Today.